Okay. I'm going to show you two different methods for all of these. So method number one is what we're going to do is we are going to this is the strategy for method number one. We're going to use the lowest common multiple. So you're going to multiply both sides to get rid of the fractions. For this one, it's going to be 20. Okay? So I'm going to multiply both sides by 20. And when I multiply this side by 20, it's just going to be 20 times that. And when I multiply this whole side by 20, it's actually going to get distributed. So this will get this term will get multiplied by 20, and this term will get multiplied by 20.
So you're just multiplying all the top.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is.
So you're going to multiply both sides to get rid of the fractions, use the lowest common multiple, and then you're going to simplify the fractions.
Into a normal.
So what I mean by simplify the fraction is 20 divided by 5 is the same as 4 over 1. And 20 divided by 2 is the same as 10 over 1. And 20 divided by 4 is the same as 5 over 1. Okay? So my first term, I have a 4 times x plus 3. I'm going to just write that out here. I have 4 times x plus 3 all over 1. But now that it's over 1, I don't have to write the fraction.
Why is it correct?
Equals, because that 4 has to multiply the x and the 3. Because it's multiplying this whole thing. The 4 is multiplying x plus 3. So we write 4 times x and the 4 times 3.
Just take that row and times it by
You could write,
20, and it would still equal like whatever you're getting from that.
yeah, but this will be the quicker way.
I
And then 5 times 10 will just be 50. And here this 5 is going to have to get multiplied by the 4x minus 7. Now if you did that all in one step, that would be fine. You could have done 4x plus 12 equals 50 and distributed this 20x minus 35. That would be fine. And once you've gotten rid of the fraction, at this point it's solving like we had before. Getting your x values together, getting your y values together. So if I move the 20 over, I'm going to get negative 16x. I've got 50 minus 35 is 15 minus the 12 is going to be 3. And the answer is x equals 3 over negative 16. So there is part A using method 1. We'll do part B with method 1 as well, and then I'll show you method 2, and then you can look at them later and decide which one you like best. All right, I'm going to scroll up. There's part B. What's the lowest common multiple? Between 5, 3, and 2. 30. So we're going to multiply this term by 30, this term by 30, and this term by 30. Because you're multiplying both sides by 30, but the 30 would get distributed here. Now if I simplify, 30 over 5 simplifies to 6 over 1. 30 over 3 simplifies to 10 over 1. And 30 over 2 simplifies to 15 over 1. question? Yeah? No? Okay. So now if we multiply it through 6 times x, you'll get 6x minus, and then you have 2 minus x times by 10 equals x minus 1 times 15. And on this one, if you're going to make a mistake, you're going to make a mistake here on the left side. Because of this minus sign, if I distribute the 10, I get 20 minus 10x. And here, if I distribute, I get 15x minus 15. I kept that in brackets on the left because if we're going to distribute that later, that negative sign in front also goes to both of those terms. So we get 6x minus 20 plus 10x equals 15x minus 15. Combine your like terms. I'm going to subtract 15x on both sides, and I'm going to add 20 on both sides. 6x plus 10x minus 15x just gives you x equals 5. Yes?
The first would be like finding the lowest common multiple.
And then being careful with the simplification.
Yeah.
Like this is really, I'm going to highlight it here, because if you have a chance, if you're watching this video, go back and do this. This part with the minus sign is going to be the hardest part, because you have to remember to subtract that minus all the way through. And if you try to skip a step a little bit earlier or do too much in your head, you're going to miss that minus sign, and that could be a problem. Okay, so now we're going to go back and do both of these with method 2. Method 1 and method 2 will have some things that are quite similar. But for method 2, this is another way of doing it. Instead of multiplying to get a least common multiple, what you're going to do first and these techniques are very similar. First, we're going to get all the denominators the same. And what's going to happen is when you get all the denominators the same, it's going to be the least common multiple that appears on the bottom. So for this first example, if I want to get all the denominators the same, between 5, 2, and 4, you can see that the lowest common denominator would be 20. And so my first fraction, I would have to multiply top by 4 and bottom by 4. Because that's just multiplying by 1. I'm allowed to do that. This one, I'd multiply top by 10, bottom by 10. And the third one, I'd multiply the top by 5 and the bottom by 5. What that'll give me is I'll get 4x plus 12 over 20 equals 50 over 20 plus 20x minus 35 over 20. So we first get all the denominators the same. Then you multiply to get rid of the fraction. What would I multiply to get rid of all those fractions? 20. So I multiply this by 20, this by 20, and this by 20. And all the 20s go away. Choo, 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 choo. And you will just get 4x plus 12 equals 50 plus 20x minus 35. Get your x's all on one side. Negative 16x equals 15 minus 12, 3. Divide by negative 16, and we get the exact same answer we had before, 3 over negative 16. See, the steps are a little bit different in that here we're multiplying after we got a lowest common denominator. The other one we multiplied first, but you get the same answers. So let's look at that second one. The second one where we're going to get the denominator the same and see if we get the same answer. So lowest common denominator between 5, 3, and 2 would be? Would be 30. So you see how the least common multiple comes in this method as well? We're going to need to multiply this first one by 6 on the top and 6 on the bottom. The second one by 10 on the top and 10 on the bottom. And the third one by 15 on the top and 15 on the bottom. So we're going to get 6x over 30 minus 20 minus 10x over 30 equals 15x minus 15 over 30. And if we multiply each of these by 30 now to get rid of the fractions, okay? And again, this is the place, remember I highlighted in the last one the place where you're going to make a mistake? You're going to make that same mistake at this point because you're going to want to do this. You're going to want to do that. Can you see the mistake? Because this subtracting sign is subtracting all of this, you have to show that it's subtracting it all in the next step, even though the 30's canceled out. You can show that either by putting brackets around that to show that it's all subtracted, and then saying minus 20 plus 10x equals 15x minus 15, and then combining your like terms, you will get x equals 5 again.